So I'd like to call up now Yorai Fainmesser, General Partner, DisruptiveAI, and Avishai Abrahami, Co-founder and CEO of Wix.
Hi, good morning, afternoon, noon, everybody. Just before we start about Israeli transition, something that we all know for many years, but particularly in the last few years, and kind of a tipping point right now. One word about myself, I'm coming from the many years in the A200, doing mainly cyber and AI. Now I'm general partner at DisruptiveAI, early stage fund investing in startups focused in Israel and AI, of course. And I'm honored to have a friend here, Avishai. Say one or two words about you, and then we'll jump into our talk.
Sure. Essentially, I grew up in a city called Petah Tikva. To everybody from Israel, everybody laughs, you see. Okay, it already says something about the city. At the age of 11, I got my first computer, and since then I've been programming. I did my army in 8200, obviously, right? It's kind of sad.
Very surprising.
Yes, very surprising.
No, I mean that the guy from Petah Tikva is in 8200.
I agree.
That was a joke. It's not a formal.
In Petah Tikva, we don't get offended. That's another thing. We understand that everything is true. I managed to be here for 3 months before I was kicked away in Tel Aviv University, and then I started by building my first company. Sold it when I was 27. Started my next company when I was 29. And it was sold 2006, and then Wix was started. And essentially, I'm an engineer that can do marketing. That's my skill. That's what I always say. I understand marketing. I know, and I can. So I'm an okay engineer and an okay marketer, but I can do both and some products. So those are my skills.
Cool. So now I think it's great to take a look at your journey and Wix journey and kind of figure out what is going on now these days in Israel. I think that when we are talking about the way Israeli tech is always in transition, and there is always, the vibrant tech ecosystem on one side, and then the super challenging and the perfect storms around us, the environment, not all related to tech, but meets the tech all the time. So I would like to hear from you where or how did 7th October meet Wix and you in person?
For me, it was a huge shock. And I didn't believe something like that can happen in Israel. In October 8th, we were supposed to start operating the full campus that we have, right? And for those of you who know it, it's a huge structure. I worked on it for many years, and the date of entry was October 8th. So on October 8th, the campus started to operate, but as an aid center, right? And essentially what we did is we started to we have a lot of restaurants, so we started to make food and send it to people that they need. So that mostly people are being evacuated, right? From places. Until today, we sent 250,000 meals. We also realized that there is no digital infrastructure for pretty much anything in the country. And Wix, and Monday, which is not a company of ours, and Fiverr, and a few more companies, right? We started to build those applications and things that we needed. And so for the next month, we were doing mostly building applications and making food for the country where it's needed. And I'm super proud, by the way, of the people at Wix and people on Monday, people on Fiverr, because nobody told them to do it. They just came in and started to do things. And for me, it was unbelievable to see that. As a CEO, my role was very limited. It's sometimes connecting people, But most of the time I used to go around and tell people, well done, well done, well done. And because that's a very short time period, and for the rest of it I had nothing to do, I went back to smoking. So after, okay, and which is not a good thing. And of course, right after, we realized that we have 300 people that go to reserve duty, 300 people that their spouse went to reserve duty, and about 400 people that their kids are in the army serving in the front, and which is a lot. So it is a huge thing, right? It was a huge thing, and very emotional, very hard. Does disturb the business in many ways. For us, a bit less, just because we don't have real sales, and a lot of the things are automatic. But it is, in every possible way, disrupt the business. It was a very hard thing for me and for the business, and I think for everybody.
So, as a CEO, your journey in the last few years came from COVID to the Ukraine war, and then to our here local issues. I think with the Ukraine war, you also faced something very challenging for a CEO, building a business.
Yeah, we had 1,000 people in Ukraine, right? And the only lucky thing I can say about it is that my partner, Wix President CEO Nir Zohar, came to me about, I think, 10 days before the war started and said, "Do you think there's going to be a war?" And I said, "I do think there is a chance." And he said, "Yeah, he also believes so. So it's going to take as many people as he can out of Ukraine." So we evacuated. Everybody agreed to be evacuated right before. But we still had people in Ukraine. We still have people in Ukraine. Now we have a center in Poland because of that, of course. But there's something, and it's really shit, right? It's terrible war, and nobody knows how it's going to end. They only attack civilian. It's like the worst kind of war you can have. But there's something that, since I remember myself doing things in technology, and that's a very long time, every 4 to 5 years, and sometimes every 3 years, there is a huge crisis. Right? The economy collapses, something changes. If you build, and it can be so many different things, right? I think that the reality of crisis is part of life of every CEO. I mean, let's say you're not in Israel, you still have a huge crisis now because the economy collapsed, the interest went up. The economy is still very much subdued. So there's always something. And understanding that and planning for that as much as you can, I think it's part of our job. That's the other side of it. It's not supposed to be easy, right? Building a company is not supposed to be easy. And we both know it, and I'm sure a lot of people here know it. When you do that, you end up having the scars to prove that you did it.
And you think Israeli founders are better equipped for that? Maybe because of the challenges we are facing along the years?
For wars, probably. Right? I think that we are more mentally trained to understand that people can shoot rockets at you and it's okay, right? Which is kind of a sad thing to be. But you see the resilience that the Ukrainians have? It was unbelievable. So I don't know. Like I have pictures of one of my first members, first hiring in Ukraine, and she's this skinny, pretty girl, right? And taking over a Russian tank, okay? Capturing a Russian tank, and I have this picture of her with the tank after that and the things inside. So you look at it, and I have pictures of, seen the Ukrainian team sitting there with UPS and generators programming in a room that the only light is a flashlight, because they need to do a delivery of a product. Not because they told them, "Oh, you promised me," because they told me, "We promised you it's going to be on that date," and we are here working on it, right? And it's never stopped. So I don't know. I think people, in many ways, are tougher than we imagine, and stronger than we imagine.
And I think you mentioned before that from a crisis there will always something good might come of a great success, a great opportunity. What kind of opportunities do you see from our?
I don't know, but I think that think that my point was that it's extremely hard to predict the future. We all tend to do linear regression in our brain, right? And we say, if this is happening and it's going, it will continue to go and continue to go, to continue to grow. And yet, when you look at history, you always have those turns that we didn't predict. Things become exponential, things decline, something else come and override it. And I think crisis is where a lot of those lines tend to break. So the only thing you know about crisis is what's led to it, but not how we're going to get out of it. And this is a strong belief, it's a strong belief that I have about investing. It's a strong belief that I have about trying to predict the future, that it's extremely hard to predict the future, but it always looks very logical when you look backward, right? Just that nobody knows how to do the forward. It's kind of like the science of economy, right? It's always good at explaining what happened, but never good at explaining what will happen.
In one day, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. So one of those areas we are seeing fast changes is the AI altogether, the AI revolution, if I may say, starting years ago, but now the last 2 years with generative AI, everybody are well familiar now with and playing with it, doing all kind of stuff. So this is one of the, maybe the sources of potential great doing or great future, technical future that we might see. I think Wix is already there for, I don't know, 10 years?
We released the first, what you would call generative AI model in 2016, which was a way for you to tell a computer what you want, to tell the Wix what you want, and we would use advanced algorithms and AI to build the full website for you. We would even search the internet on social media and on Google, learn information about your business, and use that to generate text. And we didn't generate image. We had a huge library. We took images that are relevant and placed them, or images of you that we found on the internet and placed them in your website. So yes, we released the first, I think, ever generative AI to the public in 2016.
And that made it scalable and available for
millions.
everyone, for non-tech designers.
Probably about, I don't know, 100 million people use that. They didn't realize they're using it, but they were like, they went in, wrote something, they explained who they are, I asked them a few questions, and boom, build them a website.
And you didn't brand it as generative AI or something like that. It was just part of...
The term generative AI came a few years later.
Right.
LLMs, the attention resolution article, it was 2017.
Yeah,
so,
by Google, which is
Google.
quite amazing, and seeing others taking advantage of that much faster.
Kind of amazing that OpenAI is the one who actually used that and not Google.
That.
But it was a very naive, by the way, compared to those, it was a very naive algorithms. But the experience was the same. You didn't, like if you look at it and compare it, a new version which use pretty much every variation of generative AI that you can to do AI generation of websites looks better and does things better. But it's incremental value. It's not a changing value. It's for 5 minutes.
So, looking at the AI state right now and the state of Israel in AI, many ask themselves, where do you see the Israeli leadership in that area? More on the platform, on the solutions, more business side, academic maybe? Where do you think Israel is in a potential to lead or to be more prominent?
I would say there are a couple of questions in that question. If you look at Israeli specifically, right? So I think AI21, and of course Ilya, who is Israeli, right? The guy, the genius behind OpenAI. And so I would say right in the front on innovation, on the algorithm, thinking about the algorithm. As a rule, Israelis tend to do less of a platform. We do more solutions than platforms. And this is something that I believe ingrained in our DNA. I can tell you that even on other things in software that you see it, Israel will be more solution and America and Germans will be more platforms. I did not a good job, enough job in Wix to change that. Eran and Roy from Monday did a much better job than me in changing that. But it is something that it's uphill battle to change. So I don't necessarily believe that we're going to see a lot of platforms coming from Israel for AI. Already, I do believe there are many solutions that are coming and companies that are using AI to do fantastic things in specific areas. In my mind, I want to say K-Health, who built a fully operational doctor that is about to get licensed from the FDA to be able to give you a prescription and do diagnosis fully with AI, which is, I think, is unbelievable.
Actually, it's amazing. I think, I'm asked differently on the same, where to invest in AI. In Israel, where to invest in what startup? On solution side, on, I don't know, some genius from the academic thinking of the next algorithm. And I think K-Health is a great example. I have another example of my last investment in Superlegal. It's a company that replaced the lawyer, allow you to check your contracts, your business contracts, and it got a license, and I have the license, a license for an AI mechanism, lawyer license, giving legal advice all over the United States, out of Utah. They participate in this program and got a license. So we have an AI thing. It's not a bot, it's a thing. With the license to be a lawyer, and you can rent its service half price of a human labor or human lawyer. So I'm wondering, what would you advise your kids to learn today so they will do something with impact within, 20
I think
days,
that
15 days.
I think that if we think about the future, we are almost at the place when we wake up in the morning and there are those other beings next to us. And those beings are super AI and they are more intelligent than us. So we are about, I would say probably around 10 years away from being the second most intelligent species on the planet. And which kind of make us, if you think about it, like monkeys are today, right? It's not the best position to be in. And we have to hope that those AIs will be nicer than people. And I don't think, by the way, I'm 99% sure that we all, okay, unless we die from some violent things in the next couple of years, we all gonna see that. We all gonna be in a world where those beings are part of our planet. And they'll think differently, they'll think better than us, they'll be able to do more things than us, be able to duplicate and replicate much faster than us, and to transfer knowledge much faster than us. So when I think about all that, and I want to say, before October 7, I was very against it, and now I'm kind of like, okay, maybe it's better than what we're doing today as humans. So I'm a lot more optimistic about it. But my advice for my daughters would be to remember that in pretty much everything else, they'll be better than us, except where humans are very important. So a Twitch streamer for computer game playing, okay, I think it's one of the safest profession you can have. TikTok influencer, video game streamer, because you don't want to see a machine doing that. You want to see...
You want to have the fun yourself.
Sorry?
You want to have all the fun yourself.
Yeah, and people want to look at other people do that. So I think if you look at the professions that will be safe, they're going to be very few. And the one that require human interaction or looking at a human doing something, playing tennis, is probably one of those. The other thing I believe is that one of the last professions to actually go away is probably software engineering.
Software engineering, yeah.
Because every time the problem is different. It's harder to automate.
But still, they have a lot of work to do, so maybe...
It's true, it is true.
I'll share something with you and then we'll leave. I had, like a parent class when I'm coming to my son's class, 6 years old, and I told them all about AI and gave them a lecture about robots replacing humans. The waitress robot, the service bots, and the auto driving and so forth. And then one kid said, and they discovered themselves that there is kind of a threat on their professional future. So she said, what are we going to do when we're going to grow up? How are we going to make money? This is what she said. And then another one answered, we're going to build the robots. So probably this is the place of humans in our world.
I hope so. I think that we're not pretty good. They're probably better than us than doing and building the robots. So I'm not sure.
We'll have to count on them. We are not going to be here to do that.
That's a good question.
Okay, guys, that's for the next
Thank you very
panel.
much.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.